Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We're going to get started. Thank you for coming. My name is Sonia Kaplan. I'm a professor of strategic management here at the Rotman School and director of the Institute for Gender and the Economy. Before we get started, I want to do the territorial acknowledgement. We wish to acknowledge this land. Oops, welcome to bad. No. We wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit River. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. Our goal here at the Institute for Gender and the Economy, our acronym is GATE, Gender and the Economy, is to open gates to new conversations that, about gender equality that can really change how we talk about the issues and inform them based on rigorous research and practice. Today's BAD conference is designed to do just that, and it turns out it's Canada's first ever Gender Equality Week, which they planned to coincide with our conference, which we're very excited about. As a result of Bill C-309, the Gender Equality Week Act, the fourth week of every September of every year going forward is going to be a time to focus attention on gender equality. Of course, we hope that it won't just be 1 week a year. I'd like to make it Gender Equality Year every year, and hopefully that's part of what we are going to be doing today together. So BAD stands for Behavioral Approaches to Diversity. We originally were going to add in Applied Social Sciences, which would be BAD ASS. I won't say the word, but I actually hope that that's what this conference is going to be, the plan. That's the plan, BAD ASS conference. The theory behind this conference is that we simply have not made enough progress on gender equality. We've made progress. I mean, I started working out of university a little more than 30 years ago, and things are definitely better today than they were then. And I was speaking with our keynote speaker just a minute ago who was saying we should not forget that there has been progress. But surprisingly, not nearly as much progress as maybe we had all imagined years ago, and based on all the hard work that people have been doing to try to achieve equality. So we've spent the last 30 years training ourselves on implicit bias and trying to eradicate it, trying to change our brains, and it just hasn't worked. And it's not that diversity training is bad necessarily, it doesn't have merits, but research tells us that we're going to have to shift our focus away from just changing our minds towards changing our behaviors. And so that's the behavioral approach for diversity. We need to change structures, we need to change systems, we need to change processes, procedures, activities, and that's what behavioral interventions are meant to do. So that's why GATE has partnered with BEAR. We couldn't figure out a BEAR, GATE, BEAR. We couldn't figure out a good thing to go. That's why we went with BAD. But BEAR is Behavioral Economics at Rotman. It's another research center here, very much focused on the cutting edge thinking around behavioral interventions. And we thought that this partnership would allow us to look at the possibilities of how we can use behavioral change, structural change, process change to really improve gender equality. It focuses away from fixing our minds and towards fixing organizations and institutions. And this is important because still today the world is designed in gendered ways that keep all of us from achieving authenticity, health, safety, and economic security. Facilities that have equally sized washrooms for men and women may seem equal, but they are not equitable. We may actually have that problem a little bit today. So people can point you to all the various facilities that are available to you. And we also need to think about how to make washrooms truly gender inclusive. Artificial hearts fit 85% of men and 20% of women. Boys are given higher allowances than girls for their tasks at home, and while boys' masculinity is aggressively policed by peers and adults, girls suffer because their physical looks come to be the lens through which they're viewed as puberty hits. Job categories such as family medicine that become more feminized over time lose status and end up being paid less. Securities Commission regulations that simply ask companies if they set targets for women on boards and in executive leadership just don't move the needle as fast as we would like. Medical research on autism and Alzheimer's understand little about how these conditions manifest in girls and women because most of the studies are done on boys and men. In Canada, women are shamed if they come, this as an American, I'm shocked about this because we have almost no maternity leave at all in the United States. Women are shamed if they come back from maternity leave before 1 year. Meanwhile, men are shamed if they're put in career or put in career jeopardy if they want to take parental leave at all. In experiments, computers that are named James are seen as much more valuable, and people are willing to pay more for them than computers named Julie. So we know that these dynamics play out in all sorts of spaces as well. If any of you watched the US Supreme Court nomination hearings yesterday, you know that we still have a long way to go. And I could go on, but the point is we need to change the conversation if we're going to make progress. So we have 300 people in the room today, students, government officials, corporate leaders, and most specifically my mother, who flew in from California. So I'm so honored for all of you to be here, plus, you know, especially my mom, to be in this conversation. We're going to have two of the leading lights in academic research on issues joining us for keynotes. We'll hear from Walmart and US Trust and the World Bank and UK Behavioral Insights team talking about what lessons we can learn from practice. We have 3 panel discussions on topics that really need upending: child psychology and education, masculinity, and real organizational change. And so I think it's going to be a bad ASS day. I also just want to acknowledge none of this could be possible without the support of BEAR's founding partner, TD, and with GATE, the number of industry partners that we now have: TD, Scotiabank, CIBC, Deloitte, IGM, McKinsey, and Bain Consulting and Shopify are in the process of signing on the dotted line. So we're also grateful to our individual supporters, including our Power Circle members. So if you want to support what we're doing, please let us know. We'd love to have you to be part of the team. You're also just part of the team by coming here and being in this conversation today. I'm also extremely indebted to the BEAR and GATE teams, as well as Rotman's event and audiovisual teams, because they made this whole thing possible. Looks kind of awesome in here, and that's them. We hope that BAD will be part of the conversation beyond today. So you'll see we have video, photography. Over the next month, you're going to see plenty of recaps, plenty of lessons from practice and documentation flowing out from this conference. We don't want this to be a one-day thing where you came and were inspired and then that was the end of that. We're also especially thrilled to be partnering with Rotman Management Magazine on a special issue called Change Agents that will be based on this conference and coming out in the spring. Our last partnership on a special issue on inequality was a huge hit, and so we're grateful to the magazine for that. So our goal is not to just have an event. Event planning is irritating, so if you were just for the event, we might not do this very often. The goal is to start a conversation, to continue a conversation, and to really make change. I'm now going to hand things over to my amazing colleague, Professor Sonia Kang, who is going to tell you about how we're going to do it over the course of today. She is not only a faculty research fellow at GATE, but she's a chief scientist at BEAR. They come up with really good titles over at BEAR. Maybe I have to learn something from them. Chief scientist, and therefore has been basically the center of the organizing. I get to introduce, but basically she's going to be, has been doing most of the heavy lifting. She's an up-and-coming superstar in the field. You're going to be hearing a lot more of her in the future. You can, now that you've been to this event, you'll be able to say, I knew her when. So thanks all for coming, and I'll turn it over to Sonia.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So as Sarah said, my name is Sonia Kang, and I'm a professor of organizational behavior and human resource management here at U of T. And as Sarah mentioned, also a faculty research fellow at GATE and a chief scientist at BEAR. So the vision for the BAD conference really came together as this meeting of BEAR and GATE. And our goals are really twofold. So first, we want to take all of what we know about behavioral insights and figure out really how to apply that knowledge to advance our shared goals of diversity and inclusion. Everyone who's in this room, presumably you came because you share those goals. Today we'll figure out how to actually turn those into reality. And second, what we want to do is hear about the area of gender and diversity to get a sense of where we are in the field. So we want to know what progress has been made, what work still needs to be done, and to hear people's ideas for how to best create diverse and inclusive environments. So I'm a huge fan of so many people on the schedule today, and it's incredible that we get to hear from them all at the same time in the same room. And the types of conversations that we're trying to foster today, as you'll have noticed, are not easy ones to have. So we're really grateful to all of the speakers for being willing to come here and to speak really authentically about some of the most pressing issues in diversity today. Before we get started, I have a few quick items to share with you to help you get the most out of the day. So we've packed a lot in here. We want to make sure that you soak it all in and can be as engaged as possible. So first, you'll notice in your agenda that we have 3 types of events on the schedule. We have 2 very important keynotes from real giants in the field. We have Dr. Alice Eagley and Dr. Iris Bennett here today. We're beyond excited to have them. And we have 4 lessons of practice talks, during which we'll hear about exciting and current work on gender equality. So we have those set up kind of like the Best Picture nominations at the Oscars, if people are familiar with those. So they're peppered throughout the day to kind of entice you, keep you interested throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, we'll invite them all back on stage for a panel to talk about the content that they told us about. And finally, we have 4 panels packed with amazing speakers. We have one on the development and experience of inequality among children, a panel on creating real and lasting change, one on bringing masculinity into the conversation, and of course the panel I just mentioned with all of our lessons from practice speakers discussing how to best move the needle on diversity. Because our schedule is so full, we'll be keeping introductions short so that we can dive right into the content and discussions. But you can suffice it to say that all of them are amazingly accomplished and talented, and we're grateful for all of them for joining us here today. But if you do want to know more, there is detailed information for all of our speakers on the conference website. Most of our content today, as you may have noticed, focuses on gender, but we really, when curating this day, thought a lot about all different kinds of diversity, intersectionality, and we really encourage you to approach the day with that in mind as well. So, in terms of other logistics, we've also built in a morning and afternoon networking break, and of course lunch into our schedule. So food and drinks will be served just outside of the hall for the breaks and for lunch. Washrooms are also available outside, as well as down the stairs on the first level. We have lots of signs posted, lots of volunteers available in their badge shirts, so please don't hesitate to ask if you need anything. Because we have so much packed into the schedule, we need to start and end everything on time. So please try to come back from breaks and lunch on time so you don't miss anything. And at the very end of the day, we'll invite you to a reception, which Sarah will tell you more about when the time comes. So you may have noticed when you came in little cards and also scattered around the room with the Wi-Fi login information, so feel free to connect now. This is the information, the username and password. The reason that we want you to get on the Wi-Fi, we want you to really be engaged in the conference today. So if you can engage with us on Twitter, the hashtag for today's event is BAD2018. These are the Twitter handles for Bear and Gate, UT_Bear and Gender Economy. And you'll also find all of the speakers' Twitter handles in your program, and we'll show them up on the screen at the relevant times. The second reason to get connected is so that you can ask questions during the day for all of the panels and talks using Slido. So this is a big room, hundreds of people are here. Rather than trying to run around with a microphone to get your questions, which I'm definitely not going to do, we'll be collecting questions using this app. The instructions are in your program, and you can follow along now to set it up if you haven't already. So all you have to do is open a web browser on your phone, type in this address, www.slido.com, and then you just simply enter our event code, BAD2018. And once you do that, you'll be able to ask questions in real time and also vote for your favorite questions that you'd like to hear asked to the speaker. So we'll crowdsource the questions, and then the most popular ones for each talk will be asked so that you get to hear the speaker's thoughts on the most pressing issues and questions of the day. And also this helps so that you don't have to wait until the end. If you have a question, you can type it in right away as soon as it comes to mind. Keep in mind also that in all of your swag bags, you should have received a battery charger, which is good for 1 full charge of your phone. So with all of your tweeting and Slidoing, you might need to charge your phone. We took care of that for you. Finally, I'd like to remind you that 2 complimentary books are included in your conference registration. The bookstore is full of fantastic books from our speakers. I've read a few of them and can tell you that you'll be very happy to have them in your personal collection, so remember to pick them up. And the bookstore is located in room 2064. Again, there's signs and volunteers to help direct you. And if you find yourself completely inspired at the end of the day, which I'm sure you will, you can always buy additional books as long as you have your credit or debit card ready. So that's everything that I need to tell you for getting settled into the day. And now we can start the day.